The team behind Mortal Kombat has finally dropped some new information about the upcoming story. All we knew so far is that this was the continuation of Liu Kang defeating Kronika in Mortal Kombat 11 and creating a new timeline, where we end with Liu Kang meeting a young Kung Lao in said timeline. Now this is the first time that the lore is completely rewritten. I am a lore nut for this franchise, and just knowing nothing will be the same gets me very excited. So NRS has updated the MK1 website with some updated biographies of the revealed characters. And there's quite a few of juicy little bits of info in there. So what I will do here is go over each of these newly given bios and talk about any major changes or potential plot points they reveal. I also might have some atomic hot takes that are most likely completely unfounded and mostly exist of a strong combination of hopium and dreams. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Johnny Cage.
Like many stars before him, Johnny became addicted to his fame. He came to measure his self-worth by his fans' adoration and their praise of him on social media. But with his star now fading, Johnny is fighting an uphill battle to remain relevant. He joins Liu Kang's Earthrealm champions, hoping that it will provide his career and his fame a desperately needed boost. It seems we are going back to a very old style of Johnny Cage, where he's nothing more than the movie star. Basically a very shallow person that desperately wants to climb back to the top. So yeah, not much more to say at this point. I'm sure he will grow again as a character as the story will continue, as he does seem to be somewhat linked to Kenshi's story, as he has Sento in his possession. Speaking of which, once one of ancient Japan's most honored families, the Takahashis were decimated in battle. They lost everything, including the emblem of their power, the revered sword Sento. Those who survived joined the Bakuto, a predecessor of the Yakuza, for its protection. 5 centuries later, Kenshi is raised on the stories of his ancient family's exploits. Detesting his corrupt Yakuza life, he pines to free the Takahashis from the Yakuza's grasp and restore their name. But for his family to follow him, Kenshi must first fight to prove that he can lead. His first battle is to find and retrieve Sento. The story of wanting to return honor to his family of ancient warriors is a fun new take on his old story. I like that we now have a name to put on this lineage of an ancient warrior tribe, even if it's as simple as the Takahashi name. The survivors of the Takahashi massacre seeking refuge with the Yakuza explains the new look as well. And during the stress test footage, a bunch of new intro dialogues popped up which seem to imply that being a blind swordsman is a Takahashi trait. Listen to this.
Ever battle a blind swordsman?
You aren't the first Takahashi.
Kitana answers simply with, "You're not the first Takahashi." So it seems being a Takahashi is synonymous with being a blind swordsman. So we will definitely see something happen with Kenshi in the story once he has Sento that will render him blind. Also, this means Kitana is at least over 500 years old, I guess, as Kenshi was born 500 years after the decimation of the Takahashi family. Born and raised in the village of Fengjian, Kung Lao has spent his life toiling in the fields. It has been an honorable life, if not a glorious one. Kung Lao's greatest fear is that his life will amount to nothing. He prays fervently that he will be called to do something bigger. His prayers are answered when he is asked to join the champions of Earthrealm. As a warrior fighting for his honor, Kung Lao knows that his victories will be long remembered. So it seems Kung Lao still retains his previous NRS timeline personality, where he always felt like he was destined to be greater and seeking more glory. Not much more to be said honestly, except I feel they might did him dirty again by doing this, but who knows how the story will unfold. With doing him dirty again, I mean that a lot of people expected this to be the time Kung Lao got to be the chosen one. As the end of MK11, we see Liu Kang in the new timeline visit a young Kung Lao, seemingly ready to train him for whatever the future holds. Now, of course, we have no idea what will actually unfold in the story, and Kung Lao might still become more than his former selves have been. But the honor of being the chosen one seems to go to Raiden for now.
I have chosen you as my champion, Kung Lao.
So that was a fucking lie.
Raiden.
In the village of Fengjian, Raiden was known for his kindness and his charity. He was happy to spend his days tending to the fields as well as to his friends and family. So when he is asked to leave Fengjian and become one of Earthrealm's champions, Raiden hesitates. But he soon realizes that to best serve his village, he must join them. As threats to Earthrealm mount, Raiden must mature into the great warrior that Liu Kang knows he can be. Instead of being the god of thunder and protector of Earthrealm, Raiden is now a humble and kind man from Fengjian, the same village Kung Lao is from. I am curious if wearing large hats is a cultural phenomena in that village, but yeah, the title says it all. He's champion of Earthrealm. Unlike Kung Lao, the eternal second fiddle, he seems to be hesitant to leave this world behind to fight for Earthrealm. But he later realizes, in time, to protect those he loves, he has to join Liu Kang. I still very much like this change. It's a cool role reversal where now Liu Kang will train and guide Raiden to become the champion of Earthrealm. It's just tragic that it has to come at the cost of Kung Lao possibly missing out and being relevant to the story again.
Mileena.
Born mere seconds ahead of her twin sister, Mileena is the rightful heir to Outworld's throne. But even so, there are those who distrust Mileena's impulsiveness. They whisper that Kitana, with her steadier hand, should replace Mileena as heir to the throne. As Mileena fights for her legitimacy, she hides a horrible secret. She is infected with the dreaded and lethal Tarkat disease. Were her affliction found out, Mileena would be forced into battle to save her throne. Now we are getting into the juicier bios with a lot of information. This confirms that Mileena and Kitana, for the first time ever, are actual sisters rather than Mileena being a clone. Mileena is next in line to inherit the throne, and they're not Edenian, but from Outworld. This is probably the most beautiful depiction of Outworld we have ever seen. It seems in this timeline what we expect Edenia to look like has been merged with Outworld. So instead of a hellish place with screaming trees, purple skies and deserts, we get a more lush and vibrant world. So Mileena is still heir to the throne, which means there is someone else currently ruling it. Who would that be? We have seen Sindel in some footage of an alternate trailer sitting on a throne in the background. Chances are Queen or Empress Sindel is at least partly running the show in Outworld. So we have a storyline going where Mileena's trademark impulsiveness isn't really appreciated by some of Outworld's powerful, and they want her gone. On top of that, she is hiding what seems to be like a shunned and feared disease called the Tarkat disease. First of all, pour one out for my boy Baraka and the Tarkatans. Reduced to nothing more than a disease that seems to disfigure you to look like a Tarkatan. Although the bio does mention it is lethal, I wonder if there are survivors of this disease that would look like Tarkatans would. Maybe there's an isolated shunned population of outcasts that suffer from it that could become the Tarkatans. Kitana seems to be one of the few that are still loyal to her, but we can already hear the seeds of paranoia and distrust that are taking hold here.
I only want what's best for you.
Or do you secretly covet my throne?
Kitana.
Kitana has one purpose in life: to aid and protect her oldest sister Mileena, as she prepares to rule Outworld one day. The steady-handed Kitana ignores the calls of those who advocate that she should replace her impulsive sister as heir. Instead, Kitana will defend the realm by fighting, make Mileena the best empress possible. She will also fight to hide the dark secret that could end her sister's reign before it begins. So Kitana is still a princess, but this time the younger sister of Mileena, even if it's by mere seconds. Kitana still seems to retain her typical calm and calculated demeanor that she's always been depicted with. As the one tasked with protecting the heir to the throne, this bio and a few of the known intro dialogues show that she at least seems to imply being loyal to Mileena regardless of her affliction and personality.
Living in your sister's shadow wastes your potential.
It is my duty and privilege to serve her.
She seems to be a key proponent around the storyline of Outworld's future ruler. I can see Mileena's disease and increasing paranoia be the cause of her own downfall, yet blame it on Kitana, who perhaps ends up becoming the heir against her own will. You will see in a lot of these bios that there are one or more subplots interwoven in these characters outside of the big main storyline concerning the fate of Earthrealm, and I enjoy that. This takes me back to the 3D era of games, where there was a much larger focus on all these characters' independent storylines. I think it's a great step forward.
Sub-Zero.
As the Lin Kuei's Grand Master, Sub-Zero leads his ancient warrior clan in the defense of Earthrealm from external threats. For centuries, it has been their solemn task. Earthrealm hasn't been threatened in generations, and Sub-Zero sees no point in limiting his clan to preparing for dangers that may never come. Under his leadership, the Lin Kuei will come out of the shadows and fight for its place as one of Earthrealm's great nations. Right off the bat, Bi-Han is now Grand Master of the Lin Kuei. That is a huge change, as he never even lived long enough to climb the ranks of the Lin Kuei in the older timelines, where he ultimately was succeeded by his younger brother, who would become Grand Master. It seems that this Lin Kuei was formed by Liu Kang, perhaps as a force to defend Earthrealm, but it seems that the peacefulness of this timeline, paradoxically, perhaps like a monkey's paw, turns the Lin Kuei against Earthrealm itself. Bi-Han seems to have some dangerous ambitions, wanting to rule part of Earthrealm instead of defending it. If you now consider some of his victory taunts, like
Ice will cover this land.
serious bad news for whomever seeks to stand in the way of the Lin Kuei. Speaking of the Lin Kuei, there was one other member revealed to us.
Scorpion.
Like his cherished father, Scorpion is dedicated to the Lin Kuei and its defense of Earthrealm. When his father died, Scorpion was bereft, though he took pride in knowing that his brother Sub-Zero would succeed their father as the Lin Kuei's Grand Master. But Sub-Zero's unprecedented moves to cast off the Lin Kuei's traditional duties have frozen Scorpion's enthusiasm. He fears that he may one day have to battle his brother for control of the Lin Kuei's legacy. Scorpion and the Lin Kuei in one sentence. As already mentioned by Lord Boone himself, Scorpion and Sub-Zero are brothers rather than rivals from enemy clans this time around. So to me, this all but confirms that Scorpion no longer is Hanzo Hasashi, but in fact Kuai Liang, the younger Sub-Zero in the old timelines. Especially if we also take heed of some new intro dialogues that also already reference Kuai Liang.
Kuai Liang says I shouldn't trust the Black Dragon.
In this, as in all timelines, they are scoundrels.
So where to even begin? Scorpion, throughout almost every iteration of Mortal Kombat, was a rival to the Lin Kuei, and especially a rival to Bi-Han. So to see them now as literal brothers, both serving the Lin Kuei, is pretty nuts. And then it most likely being Kuai Liang as well, who canonically always has become the second Sub-Zero after Bi-Han's death. And it is very exciting to see how this will develop further. There is already a nice analogy forming as well with Kuai Liang and this new Lin Kuei. You see, in the older timelines, there was always some decision from the current Grand Master that started to steer away from the Lin Kuei's traditions. Most notably, the Cyber Initiative that forced all of the assassins to become cybernetically enhanced to the point that they would be more machine than man. Some were willing, others rebelled and splintered off. Amongst one of those rebels was Kuai Liang, who later formed a new Lin Kuei and became Grand Master. So here, instead of the Cyber Initiative, it seems Bi-Han wants to forsake the duty of defending Earthrealm and would prefer to rule as a nation. And we've already read that there are cracks forming in the trust Scorpion has for Bi-Han's way of ruling. Now about the death of their father, the old Grand Master. During the stress test, people quickly heard an ominous victory taunt from Sub-Zero in between rounds. Have a listen.
Die like my father!
So did Bi-Han kill the former Grand Master? And thus his father to usurp the rule? Or is there something else that he's implying with this? The whole Kuai Liang possibly being Scorpion and Bi-Han breaking away from the Lin Kuei tradition got me thinking. Or should I say raving about one potential scenario. What if Kuai Liang once again ends up rebelling and splintering off the Lin Kuei and forms his own branch? But this time, instead of it being a new Lin Kuei and him being Scorpion, he is in fact the one that becomes the founder of the Shirai Ryu. And this is how the rivalry between the Lin Kuei and the Shirai Ryu starts. I think that doesn't sound as impossible as it may sound initially, but then again, I might also be too far gone at this point to realize what I'm saying. And finally,
Liu Kang.
Having won control of the hourglass, Liu Kang restarted history. He neutralized the threats and dangers that had come before, crafting a new era in which all beings would have the opportunity to find peace. But that peace is now threatened by an enemy that Liu Kang could never have anticipated. It will take all of his wisdom and experience to save not only Earthrealm, but all of reality. As is to be expected at this point, it seems that trying to manipulate time only will do more harm than good. We saw it with Raiden, who sent a message back in time to prevent Shao Kahn to win Armageddon. We saw it with Kronika, trying to create the new era, and it seems we are possibly experiencing it again with Liu Kang this time. So what villain could Liu Kang possibly not have foreseen? I think currently the most popular theory running around is that it's possibly the Dragon King, Onaga, as Liu Kang wasn't exactly around during that time when Onaga was wreaking havoc amongst the realms. Now Shang Tsung will definitely be around, right? He has been shown too involved in the initial trailer for it not to be the case. But I am not sure if they would make him the big villain of the story. Although him being the first ever final boss in Mortal Kombat, it would be somewhat fitting that he ultimately was the final boss in Mortal Kombat 1. Now, if you thought me talking how Kuai Liang will become founder of the Shirai Ryu was insane, I am so sorry for what's coming next. Take a seat, for what I want to propose is probably another ludicrous idea, but if you would entertain me, it is that one final line, not only Earthrealm, but all of reality, that sticks with me and gets my hopium deposits firing on all cylinders. But what if this unforeseen enemy is the most powerful being of them all? The monstrous entity only hinted at but never really shown outside of a few artworks. A being that genuinely is feared for destroying all realms and realities if it would ever be freed. Yeah, I'm talking about
The one being.
the one being was still being referenced in Shinnok's arcade ending in MKX, so he has been acknowledged in the NRS era of game. And this could open so many cool possibilities for storylines. We could have someone like, I don't know, a certain priest of chaos maybe use the Kamidogu or another powerful artifact and try to summon the one being, and that will give us this end of the world scenario. I know this is mostly ridiculous to infer from such a small line, and I very much doubt myself that this will actually happen, but god do I hope to finally see the one being used in an actual MK storyline. It would be so cool. And yeah, that's going to be about it from me for this video. Should I start getting my measurements up for a bespoke straitjacket? Do you have any insane ideas yourself that you've been cooking with this new info? I'd love to read what you are all making of this new info. Let's keep talking Mortal Kombat.